it's the appointed hour. We'll call to order the meeting of the MAPS 3 Citizens Advisory Board, meeting of February the 28th, 2013. You have been furnished in your packet the proposed minutes of the previous meeting. Are there additions or corrections? It's been moved that we approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Been seconded. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. I want to note for the record that we have a quorum present, and we will begin by asking David to present for us item 3 on the agenda, the MAPS 3 Revenue and Expenditure Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you see in your packet, you have the Revenue and Expenditure Report in its usual format. For the month, sales tax was $8,539,231. That is 7.2% above target. We had interest of $84,968 for a total of $8,624,189. Might draw your attention to the minus 10. That is an accounting issue with a reimbursement for court costs, so that's why that minus 10 shows up on the revenues. For a fiscal year on revenue side, it's $53,013,775 for a total program of $257,179,245. On the expenditures, you can see for the month that we have $1,308,074. For the year, $5,867,859, and for total expenditures on the program, $18,735,199.
Thank you, David. Michael Adams has a suggestion to make that we're going to call on him at this time to share with us.
Okay. Well, I think we've done a good job here, kind of tracking the revenues coming in. But as these projects are starting to go into the construction phase and planning phases, and we're starting to spend a little bit of money, and I'm not sure that maybe we need to talk about a little bit how we might monitor the spending. Everybody had an implementation plan, both timing and money-wise, and maybe the subcommittees should periodically get reports, as to where they are against the plan, against the budget. And I don't know, I think we're doing a little bit in the River Subcommittee because we're kind of one of the ones I think that are starting to do some construction, but I was just wanted to see what the general thought was there, or as far as suggestion maybe as to how we get some reporting from staff maybe on the spending side of the thing and keep track of how that goes.
David?
Yes, as we go along and start to spend significant money, we are developing budget reports to the subcommittees, and right now we've just been providing it with the River, but we will continue to provide that to all the subcommittees so they'll be able to see how they are budget-wise individually.
I think Mike has a good idea that we're seeing how the revenue is coming in, and perhaps no less frequently than annually, each subcommittee would kind of see if the spending is on pace with the implementation plan as well as the activity. And that seems like a good idea. Does that seem like a good idea to everyone? Anyone want to be heard on it?
I concur with you 100%, and I know I refer a lot to the park requirements document that we accepted that has that budget page, and I think I've about worn it out, just kind of checking where we're at. So it would be nice to know that.
Well, if everyone's in agreement, why don't we're on a fiscal year basis, right, David?
Yes.
And so maybe between now and the end of the fiscal year, each subcommittee could take that on as an endeavor that with Mike and Nicole's help and with David's help, we could sort out how we're doing in terms of the relationship of revenue and spending with regard to the implementation plan that the council has approved. Is that okay? All right, well, thanks. Any other thoughts or questions about the revenue and expenditure report? Okay, then we will note that report has been received. That brings us to item 4, David.
Mr. Chairman, you need
Yes.
to vote to receive the report.
Oh, do we need to vote on it? Ooh, okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded that we receive the report. Thank you, Amanda. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The report is received. Thank you. Item 4, the resolution approving the final plan for the MAPS 3 Fairgrounds project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 4 is recommend resolution approving final plans and specifications for the MAPS 3 Oklahoma State Fairgrounds Phase 1, Project 2, parking lot improvements, and authorize the city clerk to advertise for bids to be received March 26, 2013, Project M3-F001A. This is the second half of the project that we've already released. They're doing grading out at the fairgrounds right now. This is the parking lot improvements, and we have Robbie Williams from Triad Design here to give you a quick presentation and show you what the project entails.
Okay, good morning. As David said, this is Phase 1, Project 2, parking lot improvements. Along with the parking lots, we will be installing utilities, sewer line and water line, and that will serve the carnival area. And we have a slide that I can go over that with you. The project is located where the old racetrack was. We have for the base bid, the parking lot will contain 1,664 parking spaces. It also includes 35 handicap parking spaces. The handicap parking spaces were calculated per the ordinance, and we assume the additional parking spaces for alternate 1 and 2. So alternate 1, if it could be awarded, that would add 338 parking spaces. Alternate 2 would add 447 parking spaces. And then alternate number 3 is installing a 4-inch conduit for that was at the request of State Fair, Inc., for their future fiber optics system they will be putting in out there. So it would make sense to put the pipe in before we do the paving. The Phase 1, Project 1, which is currently under construction, it has done all the grading for the project. We've constructed a detention facility. We're installing landscaping along May Avenue. So all those things have been done in Project 1. So Project 2 is just mainly a paving project. The base bid will also include 5 high-mast lights. They're 100 feet tall. So the area where the old racetrack was, it will be well lit. The parking lot will. There will be some light that will go into the area that we will not pave. So those people going out at night, they're going to feel safe, and so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The next slide is an enlargement of the area. We've been through the parking, but this slide, its purpose is to show you the layout for the water and sewer. The yellow lines are what we call a gray water line. It's essentially a sanitary sewer line. And the blue lines are for the water. And we've laid this out on a grid system. This will serve the State Fair Carnival area in the future. And there will be 1 year when the Expo building is being constructed that they will need to relocate the entire carnival area and State Fair to this location for 1 year. The city already had existing sanitary sewer line there. They already had the water lines. And so the only cost is to add the lines for the layout for the carnival area. And essentially you have a water connection that they can come out and install a quick connect, like a frost freeze hydrant, and they can connect to it to provide water to the food trailers and whatnot. And then the sewer is just a cap in the pavement that they can take off and run their hoses to it from their food trailers, washing carnival rides, whatnot. So that's kind of an overview of the project. The base bid estimate is close to $3.2 million. Our project budget is just under $3.3 million. And then we do have a project contingency of $165,000. So we feel very good that the base bid will come in below our budget. We decided to go ahead and bid alternates 1 and 2 in case we get real good bids. Maybe we would have the additional funds to construct more parking. And alternate 3, it's $30,000 to install the conduit. So with everything right now, we're estimating a little under $4.2 million. Our schedule, if it's recommended for approval today, will go to City Council next Tuesday to approve the final bids and authorize the bidding process. We'll do that through the month. We'll do the bidding process through the month of March and open bids on March 26th. And then we will come back through the month of April to award the contract, hopefully, with a notice to proceed for construction on May 1st. And our projected completion date is January 31st, 2014. So that's the end of my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
On the parking lot itself, will there be landscaping elements included?
Currently, we're installing the landscaping in the project we currently have under construction, and that landscaping is mainly along May Avenue.
I heard you say that, but on the parking lot itself, will there be any landscaping?
There will not be any.
Be a sea of asphalt?
It'll just be a sea of asphalt because it needs to be that way for the carnival.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I had one. The sewer and plumbing that you discussed, that's just to accommodate the carnival for 1 year,
That's correct.
and then won't be needed in the parking lot after the 1 year?
No, it will, once the new expo building's constructed, half of the parking lot that we are constructing right now will be used in the future for all carnivals. It's just we need the entire area for 1 year while the expo building's under construction.
So in the future, the carnival will be using at least part of this area?
That's correct.
Right, the carnival is going to be relocated because of the expo building and some changes they're making out there. So this is to accommodate all the new carnival area.
Okay.
And Michael, the northern part of that area is used for staging by the fairgrounds for events there. So there is a use for the...
There's still a need for water in there.
Yes.
And could you elaborate on the fiber optic item that's in the bid?
Yes, sir.
What's that for?
It's mainly about 1,500 feet of 4-inch pipe, and the fair would just like for us to install the conduit
Just the conduit, okay.
before we do the paving.
Okay.
Robbie, would you go back to your first slide and point out, if you would, where the expo building is going to be built so we can see that relationship between...
Well, the master plan that went through a month or so ago. Currently, the Expo building will be east of the Norick Arena.
They're still in the process of completely siding that building right now, but in general, it's where the TNT building is now, and you can see the white boxes there. It will be out into that area because it is a substantially larger building than the TNT building. So that's where it will go. It will be facing south easterly.
Yes.
I just had one other question. The remaining grassy area that once was the racetrack, is that available for parking use now, or will that be held for future expansion?
The area that will just remain grass, we have installed a irrigation system, and we are going to sod that. Right now, to my knowledge, the State Fair, there's no short-term plan to pave that area. That's well into the future. So as you drive along May Avenue, you're going to see a nice landscape area along May Avenue and a nice lawn area.
It also serves as a detention pond for the runoff coming off of the parking.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, Sue.
So I guess I'm just going to ask the question about the alternatives and the discussion about where that money comes from. Because I know we have the budget.
They're just in there in case that the bids come in really in our favor, and if we still have budget, they're not asking for any extra money. They're just there so that if we can award them within budget, we will.
Perfect. Good job planning for that.
Any other questions? Well, you have in your packet the proposed resolution. Shall we approve it? Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt and approve the resolution. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. That takes us to item 5 on the agenda, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 5 is recommend resolution approving preliminary report for MAPS 3 Phase 1, Project 1, Sidewalk Improvements, Project M3-W001. If you recall, this body approved the master plan for the sidewalk locations, and Smith Roberts has proceeded with doing the preliminary report to start the plan process. I want to emphasize, and Carl will mention this too, but I want to doubly emphasize that this is part 1 of phase 1. So there'll be multiple packages, and what you're going to see today is a small group of sidewalks proposed in this preliminary report. There will be additional preliminary plans and final plans that represent phase 1. So this is just a small piece of phase 1. And additionally, there's another project that we are advertising now for engineering for phase 2 of the sidewalks. So this is a very small part of the sidewalk projects. So we have Carl Baldesweiler here with Smith Roberts Baldesweiler to talk to us about the project.
Carl, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Stole my thunder. I don't have anything left to talk about. Again, this is Phase 1, Project 1, preliminary report for the MAP sidewalk program. This slide shows the extents of Phase 1 based on our master plan. And again, these number of alignments were based on average unit prices that we projected to come in under budget. Again, we anticipate, like you talked on the last report, if we get better prices, then we can extend the projects in phase 1. This slide shows the projects, the alignments that will be in project 1. These are grouped. We went with a selection of projects that were alignments that were grouped geographically, hoping that we can get better unit prices if we don't scatter a project all over town. And so we took some up in the north side that are grouped together that we can get out the quickest to get a project on the street. We anticipate at least 2, maybe 3 projects for phase 1 based on the unit prices that we get for these projects, and see if we can extend the number of alignments beyond what we show on our master plan. Again, these projects are were selected to get a project out on the street quickly. We anticipate Project 2 to come out of 2 months behind this one, 6 weeks to 2 months. And then if there's a Project 3, it would be 2 months after that, hopefully with alternate alignments that, based on the unit prices that we see in the first two alternates, first two projects. These are some examples of just satisfying the criteria that we had in our master plan. You can see here, Northwestern, there's some existing sidewalk. We did connectivity between existing sidewalks and closing gaps. This is looking at, obviously, we have a desire path there that's right at this point was working as a flumes carrying water, but that was an area that we saw heavy traffic and met the criteria for the other ones that were set forth in the master plan, proximity to public places and schools. And then this one just shows, there are some alignments where we go in and we'll have to put a curb on the backside, maybe a little bit higher curb. Just some of the sidewalk alignments, aren't just flat. They will have some additional costs associated with a high curb or possibly even a short retaining wall in some areas, but these were kept to a minimum if we could in the master plan. The budget, Phase 1, has approximately $3.6 million budget. There were 17 alignments. Again, those were based on the average unit prices that we've seen in the past. We hope for better pricing to extend that beyond 14.5 miles. Phase 1, Project 1, is approximately 5.9 miles. In this project, and again, we'll come back with most likely 2 more projects, so we'll be able to extend those unit prices and see if we can add some alternate alignments. The estimated construction cost is $1.4 million. Again, that's based on average prices, and we hope to update that as we let this first project. Schedule. Notice to proceed in October. We present our preliminary report. Final plans and specifications at the end of March. Hope to advertise this project in April and then begin construction probably late May, early June. Again, Project 2 would come approximately 2 months, 6 weeks to 2 months behind this one, and then the last project, based on how far we think we can extend it, would come 2 months after that. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? I guess I had one, Carl. I just want to make sure I understood this correctly. All of the projects have been prioritized.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you're not necessarily just picking one from each ward.
No.
You're doing it at a priority.
Yes.
On the priority basis, but you've also considered the proximity to each other so that they could be more efficiently done. Is that what I'm understanding you to say?
There are approximately 17 miles in Phase 1, and we're going to let it in probably 3 projects.
Okay.
And we're going to group those geographically to where we think we can keep the contractor working in the same part of town, hopefully at lower cost, come behind with the next project, maybe save mobilization on the second and third one, if we can keep the same contractor out there. But again, it depends on the prices.
Sure.
And how far we can extend it.
Thank you. Sue, the committee have any comments about this?
Well, one thing is we're very excited for this project to get approval, move forward, and be finished by October 2013. So I know the whole advisory board is also anticipating a chance to have one of our projects started and completed. So we're excited to bring this to you. We also want you to know that the City Council has also offered support for this plan of sidewalks and some additional funding, because we know we've identified 291 miles, and obviously we're not going to be building 291 miles, but we're going to make our dollars go as far as we can, and City Council has already said they're going to give some support to that too with the funding balance that they have.
Mike?
Yes, to follow up on that, Pat, maybe the question you could help me with, and we all recall that we soon discovered that there was not going to be enough money to do all the 70 miles that we hoped would be done. And with the 07 bond issue, that was going to add some sidewalks. But can you just, since of the following up on Susan's point, that the council, do you believe that the council will find the money to do at least all 70 miles?
Yes, we, at the end of the fiscal year, we'll look at our fund balance. And it's, by resolution of the council, it's got a certain percentage of our expenses. And it looks like, at the current time, assuming nothing drastic happens, that there will be a balance above our our limits that we set. So we'll have some extra money to spend. And the council felt, when we discussed this earlier, a strong desire to take some of that money at least and put it towards sidewalk projects.
So you believe we might very well get the 70 miles that we originally thought that we were going to get? Is that what I hear you saying?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what it's going to cost and how much money we're going to have left, but we'll try to do as many of that as we can. The city council, to a person, is excited about sidewalk projects, and we think it'll be a real helpful thing. And how wide, Carl, are the sidewalks you're proposing?
They're 5 feet wide unless they're right against the back of curb, then they're 6.
That's a good point, because I think we need as wide a sidewalks as we can possibly put in from a comfort and safety standpoint. And a 4-foot sidewalk doesn't hardly get 2 people walk side by side. We want to discourage any romantic relationships out there if you walk around. At any rate, no, the council is committed to putting some more money in this. Now, how much we'll be able to put in depends on what the prices are that we get from the contractors, and then how much money we have in the fund balance. And there's lots of people looking at the fund balance wanting it spent on their pet projects. So we'll have to fight for it. But I think the council is committed to at least some of that money going to sidewalk.
Kim?
I had a question. If you could go to the slide that says alignment 17 on North Meridian. On the shot to the left, there appears to be, from what I can see, several trees in the area that the sidewalks may fall.
Correct.
So there will be removal of trees as necessary that will also add to the cost of the sidewalk project?
We try to avoid that with a high curb on the back side of the sidewalk instead of taking the slope out. I mentioned that earlier, that some alignments will have that, which throws the per foot price up a little bit, but that's offset by some alignments that are fairly straightforward and simple. But that's the way we would avoid those trees. But it's not to say that there won't be a tree or two that will have to come out that is right in behind the curb. But we try to avoid it with those.
And those costs will be also
Yes.
part of the sidewalk
Yes.
project? Okay, thank you.
Further questions or comments? Well, you have in your packet the recommended resolution. Shall we adopt it? Been moved that we approve it. Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded that we adopt the resolution approving this report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. Thank you very much. Carl, thank you for the good work you're doing. Item 6, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 6 is recommend resolution approving amendment number 1 to contract for landscape architectural services with Hargraves Associates for the MAPS 3 Downtown Public Park Master Plan Development Project, increase of $68,000, project M3-P006. This is an item that came out of the subcommittee in our discussions with the master plan process with the park. The subcommittee felt that there should be some master planning with the area that is along the river. It's south of 15th. It is technically out of the MAPS 3 park area, but it is south of 15th to the river, and it's between Walker and Robinson. The thought is that there should be some programming compatibility between the park and what might go on down there in that area. So as I said, this comes from the subcommittee.
Kim, any comments from the subcommittee?
Well, certainly when we first brought this project up for discussion within the subcommittee, we had unanimous approval to investigate the cost of what Hargraves would charge this MAPS project if these amenities were added in the master plan. Not that we're putting any construction dollars to this, but only in planning. And so I was extremely impressed that the MAPS office was able to negotiate an amazing price with Hargraves for this. And certainly hope that we all will support it. Yesterday, we did not have a quorum at our Park Subcommittee meeting, but I feel in talking with all of the members of the subcommittee and those that were present yesterday, we want to move this forward with resounding vigor. Just as some background, this proposition was the result of attending many of the focus group meetings that Hargraves had with lots of different departments within the city, with interested groups, and also from the 3 citizens meetings that we have. It became very apparent that in order for the MAPS 3 to keep all of the promises that this project has, not only in adding the amenities for the citizens to use, but also in helping to spur an economic development and create jobs, that we need to look at programming all the areas that have opportunity for growth and economic development to let the latter happen. In meetings with not only the Parks and Recreation Department, but the Alliance for Economic Development, everyone was resoundingly for the fact that a lot of development will happen around the river, and the programming needs to be able to integrate with the park. At the first 2 public meetings, many citizens from areas around the park and on the south side were very adamant that they wanted to see something happen on that river that really brought this park core to shore and began to tear down the imaginary wall that sometimes is that river between the north side of the city and the south side of the city. I wholeheartedly believe that we will never have the opportunity to do this again with such an impact for so few dollars. I guess it's pretty evident that I'm pretty passionate on spending this additional $68,000, and as it being such a small part with such a great impact, I hope you all join me in that.
Thank you, Kim. Bob?
It may be a stupid question, but why is this area south of 15th, why was it not included in the park plan to begin with?
Well, David, I think the park area was defined for us by the city council, and so we weren't asked to decide that, but is that the answer, David?
I believe so. I don't know why, other than I think maybe that it is an existing green space, unprogrammed, so to speak. It's got trails through there, and the thought was that it's already kind of a park now, but I can't answer that directly.
I've come to understand that it might possibly be more of the fact that all of the other bounds of the parks are street. And so really the park ends at Southwest 15th, that being the public street in that area. And the River Trust also has that property embankment in that area now. But obviously for future growth along the entire 8-mile stretch that we call the Oklahoma River, a lot of planning will have to happen. And this will help to feed projects that the park will have during a general obligation bond issue that will be happening at the same time as construction for the South Park for improvements on Wiley Post. So the complements are certainly something that would be a vantage point for all.
Anyone else want to be heard about that? All right, then, you have the proposed resolution in your packet that would approve this amendment to the contract. Shall we approve it?
I so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded that we approve, that we adopt this resolution approving the amendment. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is unanimously adopted. Anything, David, that you have to offer under item 7 on the agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
Anyone else have an item that they want to discuss under item 7, generally about the program? All right, then, let's move to item 8. We've heard from several of the subcommittees today, but anything else, Sue, you want, anything that you'd like to offer today from your subcommittee?
Yes, just a couple things. Our first phase of our trail project is in process, and so we will, at our next meeting, get an update on that. Also, I want the committee to be aware that once we get approval approval from City Council and go forward with this first phase, first project of sidewalks, that we will meet with those neighborhood communities and let them know what's going to happen, what's going on, so that they're aware of what's happening. And I'm pleased to let you also know that there are 5 schools that will be impacted in this very first project.
5 schools?
5 schools.
Thank you. All right, Mike, Dover, anything you want to call to our attention?
Oh, no, except just to remind everyone that April 1, I believe, is the date that we expect to be hearing from the community on the request for proposals that were sent out for operating partners. And we're optimistic and hopeful that we'll have a lot of interest.
David, when it comes time for your report, would you expand a little bit on that? I know you've had people coming in picking them up. You wouldn't mind including that in your report, would you? Okay, Kim, anything else from Park? Dee, a lot of stuff going on the river. You have anything you want to tell us?
Well, this month we did not have a meeting, so no. Thank you.
Okay. Bob, anything else from the fairgrounds? Well, welcome back. You took back the chairmanship of the Modern Transit Streetcar Committee, Nathaniel.
I did. I had to wrestle it from Zane, so I did want to say thank you to Michael Adams.
Which is harder, Afghanistan?
Oh, him. He fights dirty.
Okay.
So, actually, Zane I got called off for a work meeting all week, so he wasn't there, but I wanted to say thank you to Michael Adams for filling in that whole time, and even when he didn't have the official role filling in for vice chair, he's been a good member stepping in and being involved with transit, so thank you for that. As far as our meeting, it was relatively brief. We got a couple updates from Jacobs going over the Adventure District line feasibility study, what to expect from that. We don't have the results from it, but just kind of giving us how they're going to approach that analysis, and also some feedback from the first, they're calling it the Fresh Eyes Forum, so the series of meetings where we're going to get public input on the route, and some of the preliminary results from that first meeting. Learned quite a bit as far as how we can pay for operating and maintenance costs, and how other cities are doing this. There's, I think, will be the 11th or 12th such project in operation once it gets in operation, among other similar projects in the country. And something of note was City Manager Mr. Couch, he mentioned that the total O&M that we might speculate or might estimate from all the MAPS projects is something on order of $4 to $5 million. The city's operating budget, rounding to the nearest figure, is about $400 million. So a lot of the concerns that have been shared among various people about how we're going to pay for operating maintenance, especially for streetcar, because that's one of the bigger items. How are we going to do that? Well, certainly it's a challenge, it needs to be done correctly, but it seems to be a problem that can be solved. When you think of that scale, about 1/100th of the operating budget, it seems manageable. So that was great information for us on the transit subcommittee, and good news. And so going forward, I think we'll find some really practical solutions, not only on how to have a very functional streetcar, but also how to pay for it going forward.
Yes, he wants that microphone on when I say that. I want to compliment David and the city staff for the great job they're doing coordinating the consultants working on the various projects and having joint meetings. It's been I think all of us really feel inspired about the fact that they're working together so well, and that having the convention center, transit, and park consultants meeting with each other, and I know that David and the city staff and Mike and Nicole have done a great job coordinating those meetings and making sure that there is a line of communication. So I'm really feeling really good about that. Kim, you wanted to add something?
Two things I wanted to add was just saying how grateful I am that Councilman Ryan's sitting back in the horseshoe with us. It's good to have you back. And also to thank Nathaniel for presenting the council with a flag of the United States that was flown during his time in Afghanistan. Thank you for that and your service.
Okay. Anything else from any of the subcommittees? All right, that brings us to item 9 on the agenda, the property acquisition. David?
Mr. Chairman, you can see in your packet and on the screen right now the continued progress for the acquisition of the property on the park. I can tell you that parcels V3 and V4, which are the furthest parcels up in the northeast corner, the light blue ones, we've received an award from the commissioners, so we are proceeding with that. All we lack now really is the ramp, and then the light blue parcels, there are some ODOT properties that we have to do a property swap with. So we're getting very close to acquiring all the property in the park.
Any questions about the property acquisition? Well, you probably noticed on the revenue and expenditure report that that's where we spent the bulk of the expenditures to date. So that's very encouraging. Okay, David, item 10, an update on the status of the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just go over each subcommittee real quick, anything that wasn't necessarily covered. But on the river, the race course lighting is under construction. You may have seen the lights are up, all the poles are up. So we're continuing with construction on that. The windscreen is in design. The whitewater facility will soon be in preliminary design, and Phase 2 improvements, which are some more race course improvements, are currently in design. And senior wellness, as Mr. Dover said, the RFP is out to the public for responses. It's due around the 1st of April. If anybody's still interested in that, you can get that packet from the city clerk's office. But really right now we're just in a kind of a waiting game, waiting to receive those proposals back. So there's not a lot we can do until we get those. But once we get those, we'll analyze those and hopefully come up with a great operating partner that we can work with. Trails and sidewalks, as you saw today, Phase 1 sidewalks are in design, and 2 sections of river trails continue in design, and right-of-way acquisition continues on those. Convention Center, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, conceptual design continues with many meetings with stakeholders and such. Fairgrounds, Phase 1 grading is nearing completion, and that's what Mr. Williams from Triad talked about, the sodded area out there. And Phase 1, Part 2 improvements, as you saw today, will continue and go out for bids. The Expo Center is in design. They're beginning their meetings with stakeholders and the fairgrounds people for issues with the Expo Center. Transit work on the analysis of the line is underway, and analysis of the Adventure Line, what we call the Adventure Line, the line that goes out to 50th Street, is currently underway, and the purchase of the Santa Fe Station as the intermodal hub continues, negotiations with the owner. Park, design of the master plan continues, and as was approved today, there'll be some coordination with that other section, assuming that it is approved by City Council. There's been 3 public meetings and many focus groups that have met in relation to that park project, and as you saw just now, the land acquisition continues on that. So we're very busy, and everything's continuing. We're in a stage that's a lot of design, a lot of preliminary stuff, but soon we'll be building a lot of things.
Any questions for David? Well, David, thank you. We continue to see the good work that you and the staff do.
I had a question, David. On the, excuse me, the Senior Wellness Center, can you assess the level of interest from the new RFP?
I think that the level of interest is much more than it was the first time out. It's hard to say because the people that get the packets, you don't know if they're a primary proposer or if they're a so-called sub-consultant sort of to the proposer, but I would say that the interest is much greater than it was the first time, just based on conversations we've had.
Anyone else? Councilman, any words of wisdom from the City Council you want to bring us?
There's not much wisdom in the city council. We're just more lucky than we. But anyway, I do appreciate the efforts of all of you put in your projects. I go to enough meetings to detect a real sense of passion and interest, and our citizens really are well served by y'all's efforts out here, and we appreciate that and the work you've done. Thank you very much for all of it.
Thank you. Any other comments from any of the Citizens Advisory Board? Anything from staff? Amanda, have we voted on everything we needed to vote on? You know, that was really a test for you, just to make sure you were. Okay. Well, this is the opportunity we have for any citizens who are here who would like to address the advisory board. Any citizens' comments or questions today? Seeing none. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Please, come forward.
This may not be the time to do it, but I'd like to ask about the transit.
Excuse me, would you identify yourself
I'm
for the
sorry.
record, please?
I'm Dina Madole. I own property at 14th and Robinson, North 14th and Robinson. So I'm concerned, as are all of the people in that neighborhood, about the proposed route of the transit, the streetcar. Do you know anything more about that?
You're asking where is it going?
Yes. I first heard it was going to start at 13th and Dewey, go down 13th Street, east on 13th Street, and then at some point wind its way south to Bricktown and the Convention Center. Is that still a...
Well, there's nothing set in stone yet. There's only been kind of a preferred route proposed by the citizen members of the subcommittee.
Is that still the preferred route?
It is, but it's not something that we're going to draw blueprints from. So right now, Jacobs is going to look at that and say, is it technically feasible? Is there anything that's technically in the way of doing that? But also, there's going to be a series of public forums where citizens can come forward and voice their own opinions on that.
And how will we find out when those occur?
Probably go to the MAPS website, is what I would say. So if you go to the city council or the city's website, you can navigate to the MAPS portion of that website. And also there's a streetcar portion of that where you can look at our kind of proposed preferred route and see that kind of what we're recommending, but pending approval and input.
And then can we also come to the subcommittee meetings?
You can.
They're open?
And the transit ones are always on the Wednesday before this big board meets, Wednesday at 3:30 at 420 West Main on the 10th floor.
Thank you.
In addition to that, the city will do press releases as the time comes, so
Okay.
hopefully will be plenty of notice out there.
Okay. This is my first time to attend something like this, and I have to say I'm very impressed with all of you and appreciate what you're doing. I think we're going to have a great success. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Well, we want to emphasize that these meetings, even the subcommittee meetings, are public meetings, and you and your neighbors are welcome to attend, and there is a forum there where a provision for you to be heard at the subcommittee meetings as well. So you'd be welcome to come. Anyone else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
To leave.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. It's adopted. We're adjourned.